First of all, we have an honored guest today, Dennis Valente. I think everybody knows Dennis.
Somewhere.
One
Thank
way
you.
or another.
Thank you for joining us, Dennis.
I should be.
And I had invited Tina, but she had a problem this morning at home. No water or power or something like that.
Yeah, somewhat more important.
So she's dealing with that today. Won't be joining us. So with that, let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. And I'd like an approval of the minutes from February 26th,
So
please.
moved.
Second,
Second.
I didn't ask for discussion, but all in favor?
Aye.
The treasurer's report, Glenn, anything update on that?
Yeah, just one thing, under the savings account amount, the balance is correct, but we are still owed $50,000 from the Village of Delhi for their share of the pipeline costs. I just touched base with the village clerk this week and again, well, no, last week, and then again on Sunday in the supermarket. And it's on her list, and it's great timing because this is the end of their fiscal year, so they want to get it closed up. So it'll be within the next week or two, as soon as it gets to the top of her list. And then also just a reminder, we haven't spent it yet, but the Bank of Cooperstown, the savings account there, the 220. As you know, at the last meeting, we dedicated 200 of that as a grant to the LDC as match for a new IRP loan. So, that's why there's the difference in between what's there and what's available. I think that's it on the IDA side. On the LDC side, I didn't have anything to add unless there were any questions.
Any progress on the IRP that you were going after?
Yeah, Evan was gonna provide an update under the LDC section.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when do you want to talk about individual credits?
We can do that now. We'll just go down the list without naming names. The first one under the IDA, they're on a deferment. That's fine. Catskill Regional Harvest is, oops, I used the name. Well, whatever. They're due for this month. There are times when she pays at the end of the month, not troubling.
The one that's $11,000 past due?
Yes.
What's the update there?
I don't have an update there. I was meaning to call John to call them this week. And I just
So the potential buyer.
the potential buyer has gone. And so now he just needs to resume payments.
Well, and resume looking for a buyer.
Well, that's the big thing.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
The next one down just below them, I got to check with them. They are off payments on January and February and resume in March. So I just got to reach out to them and make sure they remember that, they were supposed to resume this month.
Yep.
The next one down, that's with our attorney. I haven't had a chance to bug her on this just because she's so swamped with real estate closings that she just doesn't have time right now. And whether we can move forward any further than we are now is in question.
Is the property for sale? It's a hot time to sell property.
Yeah, I don't know if it's listed for sale. I wish George was here because he would know.
Right. Tab, can you email George when you get back to work and just ask him if he knows if it's for sale? Because that's going to be our salvation there and how we get paid.
Right. Or maybe encouraging him to stop by and pick it up as a listing.
Correct.
Okay, so the last one on the list, made a large lump sum payment in October to carry them through. And again, that's more of a reminder that they're due again for another payment.
Did you then re-amortize their balance for a constant maturity, or did you not do anything?
We didn't do anything. With that one, honestly, we're just happy to get what we get.
Yeah,
Were they looking at selling that?
Yes.
Do
Yeah,
they have, are they still doing that? Do they have somebody in mind?
there is somebody who's interested in purchasing that. Yes.
Very interested, and they just there was some kind of contingency that was gonna get cleared up in like June, so it's gonna take a while. It's kind of weird that it takes that long, but they're ready to close, and I think she said like June or July, that'll be final.
Oh, good.
Yeah. On the LDC side, the first one, they made a double payment, they're caught up. The next one down, that was a timing issue at the start of coming back for payments from deferment. And we just gotta, work with them to get them caught up.
how about the one that's past due for $6,900 in round numbers?
Yeah, that's the tough one. So that's one we followed up with. We've sent a certified letter. Did we ever get
No signature.
we never got a signature receipt back. I talked to somebody from the area. They haven't seen them in the community forever. The wife had cancer, has cancer,
Mhm.
is going through that. The husband is back working downstate. So we just need to make contact with them and get them on some type of schedule. The letter we sent was not a demand letter. It was a, hey, we know things are rough, come talk to us.
Mhm.
And we've gotten no response.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
Okay. The next one, $375. Is it your perception that they didn't grow enough product this past year, or is it
He's,
just?
this is not atypical. He's 1 month behind.
Uh-huh.
And it's not atypical that he's a month behind.
Yeah, all right.
But from what my understanding is, it's like everything else. They thought it was gonna be a get rich quick scheme. It's not, but he is making money.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And I think that's everybody, unless there's questions.
Okay. Can I have a motion to accept the treasurer's report and to approve the invoices?
I move.
Second.
In discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Got through that without executive session, so that's-
Yeah, that's very well done.
We're learning, I guess.
Talking in code.
So
There you go.
Glenn, do we need to go into executive session for the next 2 or 3 items?
I think we can feel it out. And
Okay.
if we start to get into an area where we get uncomfortable with what we're discussing, maybe we'll have to.
Okay.
But trying to do everything as out there as possible, we'll give it a go.
Okay.
Okay, so now we're on to the pipeline portion of our meeting. And so as you're aware, the IDA did send a section of pipeline out for testing at our last break. Well, one of our last breaks to get that taken care of, or to find out what is the cause of these breaks, because they came as in a rash, 2 in December, 1 in January. I should disclose that there was another one just last week or the week before, I forget which day. But that wasn't related to this. That was a fix that was done probably 2 years ago. And when the couplings were put on, they tightened them too hard, caused a crack in the pipe. what led, they compressed it too much, led to damage to the pipe over time and was just leaking from there. It was very minor and very quick, although it did affect the next item that we'll be talking about. So as far as the results of the failures that we've had, so I mentioned there was 3 that were in a row, and then there was one last June and one the prior December, all having the same cause and effect type of thing. And so basically what it came down to is compounds within the flow were not compatible with the rubber gaskets that are used to join the pipes together, or technically even the pipe itself. And so these compounds would be sucked up into the rubber gasket and then just sit there over time and erode the pipe. And that led to cracks forming, and they could see how they go around, and that was in the report that everybody got.
So have you shared that report with the 2 industries?
I did, yep. So I sent out, and I CC'd Jim on the email. I sent out a lengthy email to the industries. It contained a number of updates, including what we're going to be talking about next. And also regarding the failure in the pipes, I sent them a copy of the report, and I let them know that as a result of this report, the IDA is no longer taking any financial liability for any breaks, including the one that just happened, even though it wasn't related to this, because technically it was related to this, but just 2 years ago.
Correct.
So we're not paying anything more.
So there is one industry that's doing it. And have they raised their hand and
Well-
said, yeah, it's me?
No, here's the thing, and I had a conference call this morning with our engineer. So here's the thing that got me. So I sent that email, and I wrote it in a way where I expected, and I requested a meeting, to discuss all the findings and everything else. And because of the tone of that email, I expected, it'd be like, okay, let's speak next week. Here's a date, blah, blah, blah. And I'd asked for dates and that. So it did come back that there was a date settled, but it was April 28th. So what I read that to mean is that there's not one industry that recognizes that they're issuing these compounds. There's 2. Because if there was only one, the other one would have stepped up and said, not me, it's them.
Correct.
And because nobody stepped up and said, not me, them, that means it's both.
Yeah.
It does, yeah. And are they talking amongst themselves?
Probably.
We don't know.
We don't know.
So now they're running for cover, trying to duck liability.
Well, yeah, but they can't. And that was also the tone of it. And I also informed them that we are going to replace the pipeline and that we are going to do all our due diligence to find whatever grants that we can to pay for it, but it will not cover it 100%.
Right.
And the IDA is not paying.
Right.
So between all these things that are going on, I expected a more prompt
Right.
response.
So they both changed the compounds they're using to clean that's causing this.
And it's not just cleaning chemicals. So these are also, these compounds are found, the most prevalent one is just a byproduct of nearly any type of milk processing. So they're found in both airway streams. And, I did, in speaking when follow up with this, I got an excellent chemistry lesson on the derivation of hydrocarbons and the fact that we ourselves are just walking, talking hydrocarbons. And so I wish you guys could have been on that call. So yeah, it's what's in their stream. And it's not necessarily, there's 2 ways of looking at it. And even these guys weren't sure what it was. Well, I guess there's 3. There's 3 ways of looking at it. It's always been in their waste stream, and it took 20 years to become a problem. it's always been in their waste stream, and because now they're really ramping up production, it's just that much more prevalent, and so it's catching up to us, or it's something new. And at this level, they can't necessarily say. Because I haven't gotten a response other than a meeting 6 weeks ahead of, out in the future. My next step is, on the basis of this report, I'm going to request a report, and I wrote that down at the office and I forgot to bring it. Their SDS report, which is a report they have to file with DEC and EPA regarding any chemical compound that they use in their production process. They have to identify and disclose how they're using it, when, how often, blah, blah, blah. So that's my next step, is I'm gonna request their, let's just call it SDS. I'm gonna request their SDS reporting. And again, that's another poke to them saying, we know it's you guys, it's what you're putting in, you need to start disclosing what you're putting in.
Okay, there's also a document called a material data sheet, MSD, that they have to have.
That's what it is, it's an MSD.
Okay, that goes along with every bucket of whatever they buy,
Yes,
and it lists all the chemicals that are in that.
right.
And then if we take that and give it to your chemistry professor, we can sort of figure out and tie it back to the report we got from the plastic experts.
Right. So what I am going to request that, I'm going to request their major ones, because it could go down to Windex they use to,
Right.
so yeah, that's what it is MDS. So yeah, so that's the report that we're going to request for all their major ones.
Okay.
And there's strange compounds in there like motor oil.
Yeah.
And I truly don't believe that they're dumping motor oil in the line. But yet somehow they're using motor oil in lubrication of their equipment, and it's getting washed.
Yeah, they're
through.
probably maintaining it, then they're washing it out, so it's not
Right.
present for when they're actually making product, and that's why it's in their waste stream.
But that's a pretty
Yeah.
big
It
percentage.
was.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was surprised when I
pretty
looked
big
at those
concentration
graphs.
of it.
Yeah.
Question for you, how come we're having such a problem with our pipeline versus Walton's pipeline with Kraft or whoever it's called now?
I don't think it's this type of pipeline.
Could be the type of
I
material.
think we got the
plastic
wrong
is.
pipe in the ground
You got a
20 years ago.
4-inch pipe should be 6, and
Right.
you don't have enough clean outs.
Well, the
So-
size of the pipe was controlled by New York City.
Here's what we got here.
And it was their way of
It is
controlling
yeah.
growth
But the type
along
of
Route
pipe
10. And they undersized the pumps, they undersized the pipeline.
Yeah, the
And,
type is just regular
This
PVC.
is the
Yeah.
type of.
and I think it may well have been the right
that
pipe
causes
to go in the
fracturing
ground back then for the operations,
recommended.
but the operations have changed. There's no way of telling that.
Which is etching.
Or maybe it was just an oversight, I don't know.
But you're saying it's the seals, the seal is breaking down that plastic.
The
or
rubber
seal.
gasket that,
It's having quite a.
At the
Pipe is
seal.
still good.
On what
yeah,
No.
the pipe,
handles sludge.
But
No,
the
the
seal-
pipe,
No, the pipe is
Pipe
breaking
is
down.
brittle
too.
now,
It says that it
the
was
pipe gets
PVC
brittle
pipe,
underneath
but
the
it should
seal.
be-
where the pipe is in contact with the seal, that's where the pipe is failing.
Yeah,
The rest of the pipe where it's just shooting through,
it's fine.
that's fine, there's no
To me,
sign of
PVC
degradation.
water.
Could have had some guy go in there on the weekend and change the damn oil in his truck. You don't know what the hell.
No, you don't.
You know?
But they run 24/7, so it's not like
Yeah.
someone
yeah.
could sneak something in.
Oh, I had an odd thought. This pipeline that runs from there back toward the village, is it running right on that old railroad
Yes,
thing?
Mhm.
I'm kind of a fascinated thing about this rails to trails kind of guy, and you might find a whole bunch of grant money if when you're done replacing that, you're gonna make that into a walkway for people.
yeah, I mean, it's currently used by the snowmobile clubs, now, when there's not a hole in the middle, but yeah.
So Glenn, what's the chances of us having a problem in the near future?
Big.
You pick it.
I was gonna say better than
You just have a
50/50.
Band-Aid on it right now.
Yes, yes.
Gonna have to fix it, but the other thing is like you're saying, you're gonna have to get them. I mean, who do you go in there? You go in there with DEP or DEC and say, okay, you got a real problem. We own the pipeline and I guess we own the pumps. But you guys are putting something in here. I mean, we're not dumping anything into it.
Right, yeah, that is the next step. And so just further to Andy's point, so the breaks are occurring closer to the industries rather than further away. Which makes sense, it's higher concentration there and, you know, whatever. We've replaced nearly every connection that's there, you know, between the industries and where these breaks have occurred. Now, yes, they're only every 20 feet apart, but the ones, the most frequent ones or the most recent ones have all occurred on Saputo's parking lot. So we're nearly backed up all the way to the pump station. So potentially, you know, we could be nearing the end of breaks. But again, I could get a call right now and be like, oh, another one. Or we might not have another one until we replace the pipeline.
So what's item two little eyes?
Okay, so it's gonna be public, so we might as well say it. So the idea is going to be issued a consent order from DEC relative to the discharges in November, when we had a pipe or a pump station issue. And then December and January, or 2 in December, 1 in January, and then this most recent one in March. And so we're gonna be fined. And I think I disclosed that last time, or,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
So that amount, after this last one, they wanted to increase it again, but I haven't got the final consent order, but I believe I've got them backed off of that.
Same price as what you told us last time?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And there is no way to get them lower. They want it much higher. Because they believe that, you know, even though we're the ones paying it, that this involves private industry and they can pay as high a fine as they want, you know. So from what they said, technically it could be 35,000 per, and
Right.
we're substantially lower than that.
Right.
So I don't think they're gonna move on the fine. What we have been talking back and forth about a lot is, in addition to paying the fine, we also have to meet certain, there's a compliance schedule of which essentially is changes we need to make to the pipeline and our operations. The first one is minimal. I think I talked about that. It's basically, right now I'm the only one who knows the New York alert reporting system and things like that. So within 15 days of when we sign this, I've got to train Evan how to do it. And I asked them, okay, you know, is there a class, blah, blah, blah. They sent me a 3-page PDF. So, and it is really that simple, you know, is just walking them through it. And there's a process there. And so then I just have to send a letter. Yep. You know, I'm trained and so is Evan to do it. Then within 30 days, right now we have an alarming system on the pump station. If there's a drop in pressure, calls go out to everybody. Yeah, by everybody, I mean the Village of Delhi, the 2 industries, you know, our operating company, to alert everybody that there's been a drop in pressure that's more than just the norm. And so you need to shut down. And that works and everything's fine. DEC is requesting that when that alarm gets triggered, we have a change on the pump controls so that the pumps automatically shut off, which I've mentioned to them makes absolutely no sense at all, because the industries can't stop their processing on the dime. It's not like they turn a switch and, oh, there's no more effluent. It takes about 30 minutes for everything to wind down. So there's still going to be stuff going into that pump station. It's just going to overflow that well. Now that well is, 150 feet from the river, and there's nothing in between. Whereas where the breaks were mainly occurring, when it was up a little further, it was on the Route 10 side of the railroad tracks. And so any flow that was released was captured in that field and sunk into ground, never made it to the river. The ones that happened recently on Saputo's essentially was captured in their stormwater controls. And, that goes to an underground pit where it filters in and is cleaned that way. So it's all being managed. What they're saying is, no, shut the pumps down, and yeah, we understand the flow is going to go right to the river, but somehow that makes things safer. And
It increases the size of the fine.
well, yeah,
But they got an ulterior motive here.
yeah. But I'm dealing with the attorney, and she understands that logic, but the Bureau of Water is just, standing on their head. No, absolutely not. They want the pumps automatically shut down. Now, that is going to be a cost. It's was, essentially going to be construction drawings. Because they want to lock us in to say we're moving forward with the project. I thought it was going to be construction drawings. That made the most sense to me. Since we're heading down that road anyways, I didn't want to do some BS report and pay for that, and then pay for construction drawings on down the road. Well, that's not what DEC wants. They want that, BS engineering report that doesn't really say anything. So, they're gonna want that by, the last conversation was May 15th. I had a call with our engineering today, Brian Swazo, and he confirmed he can do it by May 15th. He said May 30th would be better, but they're fine. This is standard. They've got canned stuff all ready to go, and so, yeah, he'll be able to do it. But what will come out of that is a better cost estimate for this pipe, because our previous cost estimate was based on just replacing PVC with PVC. This is going to be replacing PVC with HDPE pipe, which is going to change the cost. How much, we don't know. And so this will be, useful information and will be useful for us moving forward with funding entities to try to get money to help with that. And then in addition to that, they're going to, at the current time, they wanted it will be constructed by date. But in my opinion, they kind of put themselves in a corner by saying they want this engineering report, which is going to provide a reasonable schedule for construction. How do we know today what that's going to be? So I'm going to try to get that wiped out. But even if we don't get it wiped out, I talked to the attorney at length and I'm like, this may seem counterintuitive to some of you, but her perspective is we're not trying to create fines, we're trying to solve solutions. So, or trying to fix
Yeah.
problems.
No, you got it right.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, solve
Trying to
solutions.
solve solutions.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So she's like, my perspective is, I'm not trying to generate fines, I'm trying to,
Solve a problem.
solve a problem. Yes. So she's like, look, if there's a date in there and you can't meet it, but, you've gotten your funding in place, you've gone out to bid and COVID or parts are not available or something like that, or timing of the year is not gonna work. She's like, in that case, she's not gonna take a hard line and say, oh, it's December 31st, it's not built, January 1st, you're getting fined more. It'll be like, no. So whether that's in there or not, I'm not particularly concerned.
Are you still working on the two companies taking over the damn pipeline away from us?
Yeah, well, that's item number 3. So, okay. And so, yeah, so we'll just jump right into it. So,
Wait, I think Florida has a comment up here.
okay.
Are you unmuted, Florida, or you want me to read that?
I'm just beyond frustrated. Glenn, all of us, you in particular, are bending over backwards. Our job as the IDA is to create opportunities for companies to come here to create jobs. So we're committed and we do everything we can for economic development, for creating jobs. That's what we do. Now, this pipeline nightmare has been caused by these industries. I'm highly insulted that with all the work that you've been doing and trying to make all this happen, that they're not equally interested in meeting with us to resolve it. And they're going to push you off to the end of April. They're not as committed to their employees as we are.
Well, I think they're more committed to their stockholders.
Clearly.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
just
no,
want to put that out there.
I understand, and that's the frustration. And at some point, we do, with all that said, I agree. Yep, they're, walking all over us. But they're walking all over us at a time where both industries are in the process of investing over $40 million in the county and creating new jobs. So yes, we're getting walked over.
They have an issue. We're about to give them another pipeline. We have to resolve this together. You can't resolve it on your own.
Right.
They're creating the problem. So they need to come to the table and sit down with us and help us resolve it. We're not trying to hurt them. We're like, okay, there's a problem. It's being created somewhere inside. Let's figure it out. Let's fix it and let's move on and let's get a new pipeline. That should be, there's no sense of urgency from there.
Right, and I do think, and again, I'll just be blunt. The urgency right now is I've just produced a document that places the blame on them. They need to find a way to get out of that before they're going to be willing to talk to me.
Right.
So they can at least say, oh, yep, maybe your report says that, but our report says this, or have some mechanism to come back and say, you're responsible too. However, where we're at, and I believe this is the consensus of the board, is we don't care. Now, we would be willing to essentially devote staff time to find the funding and take on this project, but we're not going to put any money into it.
Right.
And yeah, that's the message that, they're getting.
That's why they're pushing you up until the late April.
Right, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
partially, but I think another thing that Glenn pointed out to me on the phone the other day was that one of the companies is in the middle of changing general managers again. And
That doesn't help.
they're right in the middle of that switch.
Yeah, so Freestyle Camping is gonna be changing managers again, just because they come over on work visas. The work visa's already been extended and these overtime. So we're gonna have a new one out, which could be why they're pushing it off to April, but either way.
So Glenn, who's paying these fines?
Well, the IDA has to pay the fine.
Right.
I can bill back to the industries on
Yeah, it should be the case.
that.
And you're communicating and sending that DEC information to both industries as well?
Sending them which,
That written document that you get.
once
from
it's
DEC?
finalized, I will.
Yep.
Yes.
I mean, if they know they have to pay those fines, you think they might want to move that date up a little quicker than waiting at the end of April.
Right.
The fine is intended to change behavior. That's what we're
Right,
trying to get
exactly.
done.
Yeah.
We need to get them to change their behavior too.
Yeah, but bottom
Would
line,
it be
not with
any
the
merit
fine.
to
Well,
asking somebody from
$5,000 a piece or
DEC
something.
to come down and
Explain
meet
it to
with
your
them?
controller.
But if you get that each month and it goes up, that way.
Yeah,
Right.
Or,
Just to basically enforce,
well,
The
I'm
field.
gonna send them a copy of the signed consent order.
right, but if they've got a person from DEC, that adds a little more urgency to it.
Yeah, and I understand that, but I'm still not ready to say, DEC's on my side,
Right.
I mean,
I wouldn't say
Right.
yeah, I'm not gonna say, hey, my buddy, come down and help me,
No.
because, yeah,
Auditors are never your friends. DEC is never your friend.
right,
Oh, no,
yeah. So I'm a little worried about that.
okay.
I mean, I think I've got a good relationship with this attorney. I think she's gonna be on our side. I think we've massaged her as much as we can, and this is
Right.
the deal we got.
She also wants action. So we've
Right.
got to get going on these 4 different things.
Well, she has this to somebody too.
Yes,
Yeah, the only thing that worries me with
You
the
think you got a
attorney is,
deal until I go see the man.
Yeah.
with the attorney is, these agencies change people all the time. So having it in writing will protect us in case she's no longer there. I think that's the important part.
okay, so then, so that's where we are. That's where we're gonna be moving forward over time. And the funding side, there's a number of options that I haven't had a chance to look into just because I've been focused solely on this DEC side here. But some of the funding options are EDA. They have an infrastructure program. This project would be perfect for that. We used them for the Amphenol project, and that was great. With the way things are heading at the time, I didn't think we were going to be able to utilize CFA type funding. I'm still not certain that there's going to be New York State economic development funding this year. But this is pushing things back a little bit. We won't be in construction this year, most likely. So maybe that puts it back on the table. There is, with the latest stimulus bill, there is money out there that could potentially help with this. I haven't dug enough into it, that could put us in the position of, because I think EDA is our home run. They're probably going to be our biggest donor, whatever you want to call it. And so going that route, there's the issue of matching federal money with federal money. So that could be a problem. Again, I just don't know enough about it yet. And there's two specific avenues off of that. Well, actually, there's multiple avenues off of that stimulus package. There's funding that's going to agencies to put out. There's funding that's going to local municipalities to put out. And there's funding going to congressional representatives to promote specific projects. So there's a number of options there that we can pursue. In addition to that, when we thought it was just going to be EDA funding, there is, I want to mention them because, you know, we haven't really had in-depth conversations with them. There is the potential for a local entity to help us with our local cost share. Jim's already started the ball rolling with that. In terms of the stimulus funding for municipalities, Jim's already started the ball rolling for that. So we do have some irons in the fire there. And ultimately, at the end of the day, there's going to be a putback on the industry. And that's just the way it is, you know. The thing is, you know, we've never played it, but we have the ultimate card. I can pick up the phone right now, call Andy Sarrow, who's our, you know, hands-on guy down there, and be like, Andy, turn the pumps off. That's it. And they'd be like, when are you gonna turn them on? I don't know. When this gets fixed.
Tough love is terrible.
Right, you know, so we do have the ultimate card. Obviously, that's the nuclear option, and nobody wants to go nuclear, but you know, we do have it, and they don't.
And we also need to look at CWC for potential.
Well, that was the one I just didn't remember. Yeah.
What about the fish people too? I mean, there's, you know, sometimes down in Hancock, some of these people they don't want their Trout Unlimited doesn't want their fingerprints on a lot of stuff. But there's a couple of stone guys down there that had trouble with sediment ponds and things like this, and they told them in a left-hand way, there's money over there if you go get it, but they don't want to get it for you.
Right.
But they've been very helpful about protecting the river and the tributaries.
Okay.
So,
That would be Skelding probably.
Yep.
but you also might on the top of Larry Underwood, because even down with Delaware Council and Mars and down with Hooter down there. And there might be some funding for it.
What do you think this thing is going to cost? Round
Okay.
numbers.
I think it'll probably be 1.5 million. However, here's the kicker is, and again, because we're online, I'm not gonna, there's things I shouldn't talk about where we would go into executive session for. I don't know what everybody's flavor is.
We don't know that yet. And we're there because a lot of this depends on the cost of the new pipe.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say an estimate of the pipeline is $1.5 million right now, probably just a little bit higher than that, somewhere between 1.5 and 2. There is a potential add-on project that would be another 1.5 million, but that gets us out of the pipeline business. So depending on how we're able to put together our funding, kind of determines the cost. So
I
honestly,
just wondered a
it's a
round
huge
number.
range, yeah, so, but I gotta give you a range of
Yeah.
1.5 to
Well,
3.5
you're not talking
million.
like 31 million.
No,
for
no,
Sydney
no.
or anything, you know, and you're including the boots for Evan and everything.
Yeah,
Evan's pair of rubber boots,
yeah.
all good.
Yeah, but when we're considering this, shouldn't we consider putting 2 pipelines through there? I mean, you're gonna have the hole open, all it's gonna be is the extra material.
One for each industry or to tie in others?
Tie in
Sooner or
others,
later, there's
as far
gonna
as
be
I'm
other
concerned.
people down there if the
And that's gonna
infrastructure
sell
is
more
there.
point if it's others can tie into it
I
because.
think you're gonna run into a huge roadblock with DEP.
Well, it's something we need to look
Well,
at.
Sportsfield
It's
Specialties
possible.
is already tied into the pipeline.
Mhm.
So, and as part of this, we are going, not only are we gonna fix something that's not working properly, we're gonna increase the size. So there will be the potential for other people to join in.
That flat down there is probably the biggest available flat for Delhi that there is.
Yeah, but it's only the right side of the road if you're heading down that way.
Right.
And half of that is by a farmer who's doing very well.
Yeah, but it isn't, might not always be that way.
Right.
But, you know, we have to look at the future and the potential of growth, that's where it's gonna be, more than likely.
Mhm. Yeah. So that potential escalator to the project is where the other item on the agenda comes in regarding Village of Delhi. They would be another party to it. And there'd be a little quid pro quo going on and we would end up out of the pipeline business. Potentially.
So now that you've got this report, any break from here on, you're gonna use that HDPE pipe.
No,
No, you can't mix them.
can't
You
at
can't
this
mix them.
point, no.
Really?
So basically what happens when there's a break in the pipeline, you cut on either side of the break, you get a new section of pipe. Because I've seen the pipe inside and on the outside of the pieces of pipe that are away from the joints. You don't see any issues with the pipeline, with the pipe at all. It's in nearly brand new condition. So you're taking out, and it's been happening at the joint. So you cut on either side of the joint, put in another straight line piece of pipe, and there's two clamps that go around it. And so essentially all you're doing is increasing the length of the straight pieces of pipe where it's flowing through and it's not causing any degradation issues with the pipeline.
Okay.
You know, it's still a short-term fix, you know, but it's one that everybody recognizes, you know. We use the same clamps that the Village of Delhi does for repairs to their water and sewer system. And they're like 30-year rated. So it's, yeah.
Another Fernco coupling.
That's what they are.
Okay.
So, oh yeah, and then so next steps are, you know, we're, okay, so the IDA does have to sign this consent order. And are you satisfied with me, with the terms and enabling me to sign the consent order?
Absolutely, but do you need a resolution to do that?
Probably.
Okay,
So moved.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
And it's when finalized.
Well, I'm not
can
in
you send
favor,
us
but I'll
all a
vote
copy?
yes.
What's that?
Yes,
When it's finalized, send us all a copy of it.
And so then the next steps are gonna be, we're gonna jump right into this engineering study. That'll give us a budget and we're gonna move on to a pipeline project. So that's it.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I heard you, Scott, and I'm with you.
Just to bring up the DPW's more recent issue with an elevated protection and mineral. Now, we're no longer able to process the effluent through our composter. It has to be buried in the landfill. And it's the worst thing you can bury in a landfill because it's flat, it's squishy. You know, landfills tend to want to be. And so right now, this can't go on much longer without us adjusting our agreement, because this is not what we bargained for, the county's landfill. So,
Right.
and I know, Evan, you had done some talking on that. Are you in on that? You know, what it is it okay to mention what we're finding?
Sure.
Arsenic. And so we're not able to put it right into the composting machine, so.
Yeah.
That's how we're watching this project and wondering where it's coming from. One of the things was when I mentioned the size of the pipe, we're under the impression it's 4 inches, now it's 6.
It's 6.
It's 6. And the lack of cleanouts causes them to use more chemical cleaners than mechanical cleaners. That's our supposition. But if it continues, we have to reach a new agreement, because this is a lot more expensive than.
Yeah, so, you know, look, they've gone about their expansions as the way most companies do. You worry about the part that makes you money first, and then you worry about the part that you need to stay in compliance. So they've increased production and they've moved forward with that. Their pre-treatment plants haven't kept pace. Now they're supposed to be coming online this year. And with our call with the EPA, they expected full compliance by July. Now, I'm not sure fully that's going to take care of the issue with the solid waste management issue. But basically what happens is they take their leftover mud, and the county accepts it at no cost down at the solid waste management facility. And they're putting it in their composting. But with this new chemical, they can't. And then even prior to that, one of the issues they're having is they're pumping so much through their pretreatment process can't keep up in terms of coagulating all the dissolved solids that are in the effluent. So because of that, they're using excessive amounts of polymer, which is one of the things that's causing less flow through the pipeline, but it's very sticky stuff. And when there's a break and you walk through it, it's not just like walking through mud. It's like, you know, the stickiest mud you've ever seen. And it's because of all these excess polymers in there. That was causing issues with the pipeline. That was causing issues down at the wastewater or at the solid waste management facility because it's so sticky, it gums up all the treads on Sue's machines and, you know, everything like that. So theoretically, their new pre-treatment processes should help with that issue. As far as the arsenic, I don't know.
Those were the compounds that they identified.
Yeah, I didn't see arsenic in there unless it goes by a different chemical compound. I don't know.
But I don't know
What
what
could
else
it, where
it
could
could be
it come
called.
from?
Yeah,
Arsenic, arsenic's in a lot of things.
it's in a lot of things.
Naturally
It-
occurring.
Yes,
Yeah, it could just be, you know, their well.
It's in groundwater around here.
yes, it is, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's spiked to a point where we're not allowed to use it.
Yeah.
And it's a game changer for all those reasons.
Yeah.
I'll have to find out, I'll get back to you, find out who tested and detected what the arsenic, because I'm not seeing it here
Right,
either.
right, yeah.
Right, so
Have
where
you
did that
seen this
report?
report from Glenn?
No,
No, I hadn't shared it with my committee yet. I got a committee meeting next week.
as I, you know, so show it to Sue, but
Yeah.
to see how it compares to what she's reading.
Mhm.
This seems a little,
I didn't pay enough attention in biology.
I don't know, it
class,
seems a
but
little like cart before the
run
horse
the
thing. I
water
mean, these
district,
guys
so I
have
see this stuff all the
hired more people, they've geared up, they've gone through all of this stuff, but we're winding up like the guy following the elephants out of the ring at
Yes,
the end of
we're
the
cleaning
circus.
up.
We're cleaning up all the mess that they're
Mhm.
making.
Yeah,
Somewhere there's gotta be a chat.
Right.
Just seems that way. I mean,
Mhm.
they ramp up production and now he winds up with a problem and they don't seem to really
Care.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah, you gotta make them care in a sense, because we can't afford to continue to take it
Right.
under the old terms.
Okay.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks, Glenn.
And then following the elephant's a great joke. The man said, saw someone, and he said, boy, you still doing that? If you were doing that since you were a kid. He said, why don't you get another job? And the man says, what, give up show business?
There you go. That's kind of the way it is. Is that it, Glenn?
Yep.
Okay. Well, now you're all warmed up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eight Winkler Road.
Okay, so 8 Winkler, I'm gonna turn this over to Evan in just a second, because this is his project. But, so basically, 8 Winkler Road is the facility we own over in Sydney. We're leasing it out to Huff, Gravity Siders, and Bronze Surveying. Bronze Surveying has an office portion. All three entities are on one electric meter. And it's causing issues over who's paying what, how much is this person's right share and everything like that. There was a system in place to try to properly identify who's using what, but it didn't capture demand charge and it just wasn't working. So basically what we'd like to do is to upgrade that facility to have 3 separate electric meters. So each company would have their own, they would be billed individually. Because right now it's a situation where, you know, the bill comes in, we pay it, and then we divide it according to what this computer program was over each person's responsibility. Instead of that, we would have 3 meters in and they would be in charge of their own electricity, and the bill they get is the bill they get. So we've got an estimate for $8,500 to change it from 1 service to 3. However, Evan's been trying to follow up with the contractor to get some clarification, whether that's 2 services or 3. Because not knowing what the cost was going to be, you know, we didn't want to spend we didn't want to spend excess money if we didn't have to. We were going to put in 2 services and allow these 2 companies who are kind of better able to cooperate with each other, figure out their electric uses. So we're, at this point, we're not 100% certain whether that 8,500 is for 2 or whether it's actually for 3. But we would like to move forward with that project as soon as possible. So not knowing, I would have to give you a range, but we think it's going to be somewhere between $8,500 and $15,000 to handle this electric situation. And you know, there's 3 businesses located in there, and we get about $45,000 a year in rental income from it. So I think it's justified. We were actually only able to get 1 quote. You know, we contacted Westcott and Taggart. They were recommendations you gave us for Marty, or maybe it was from the companies. Yeah, from John Huff. And so those were the ones, and Taggart still to this day hasn't responded. And Marty Westcott's so busy, Evan can hardly ever get him on the phone.
But we did, that's the one we got a quote from, that was Marty.
Yeah, most of those guys are so busy right now that.
Yeah, and Marty does all of Huff's electric now, so.
My concern is this is gonna cost us more than we think, because, for example, the office space is being used by multiple people, isn't it?
No, it's only by the surveyor now.
What happened to the tap room? Did they close that down?
No, they have a middle section. So there's, the front section is just the office space,
Okay,
and they don't use it. Gravity Siders don't use it. They have offices up on the mezzanine level. And then they have the whole production space is for Gravity Siders, and then the warehousing space is for Huff.
yeah, but how do we determine that all these wires are separated and?
We don't, he does. Well, not him,
They
but
actually-
his guy.
Yeah, I mean, he walked me through it, and they have it pretty well lined up right now.
Okay.
So you're talking about putting in the panel boxes and the breakers and everything?
Yes.
That should
Not
be
just
much-
putting a meter on the side?
Right, yeah, not
Okay.
just a meter, yeah,
And we're gonna make sure that there's 3 separate services, right? Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
okay.
All right, I'll make a motion that we continue on with this.
I second it.
Third.
You're spending
Oh,
money on a
I'm
second?
telling you,
All in favor?
there's no snow outside. I feel really good
Did
today.
anybody take your temperature?
Okay.
Go ahead.
If anybody wants something funded, today's your day, man.
Did you, Glenn or Evan, do we have JTEC?
No, no
Okay.
tech loan.
All right, we'll knock that off the agenda.
Got my first
Um,
shot.
Yeah.
We'll move on and go into the project updates.
How'd you feel?
Okay,
With these, do we
Second
need
one's
to
for
do an
December.
executive session?
Yeah.
not the level of detail I was gonna go into.
Go.
Okay, so the first one with Echo, you know, they had their strategic revisioning of their facility. The IDA had made an incentive offer for them to stay. And it was contingent upon other players coming to the table. Those ones didn't necessarily come to the table as envisioned. And we still provided the offer to Echo at a reduced amount. And they said, thank you, we really appreciate it, but we're not gonna make you be the only ones holding the bag,
Right.
so no, thank you. So I thought that was decent of them.
So they're going.
Yeah. So no, they
No,
made
they're
a
staying.
commitment, they're gonna stay, they're still not willing to commit, at a specific employment level.
They gave the indication that they're gonna be above the 175.
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna lose jobs due to attrition.
Right.
For the most part, they're gonna try to handle it that way. They're gonna try to handle their downsizing that way without any specific layoffs. But they will maintain a presence there at least for 3 years. At least half or more than what they are now.
Yeah.
In terms of their production jobs.
Better than them shutting the doors.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Okay.
yeah, exactly. Sheffield Estates, that's still held up in legal limbo. Is that a
Yeah.
good way to say it?
Well, yeah, I mean, but I think they need to know why.
Okay. Yeah, then that's yours, so you go ahead.
We retained a law firm from Albany, Kevin Young's firm, to help us out getting the owners or the property owners association dissolved, because it was put in place and set up through the Attorney General's office, and then nothing ever happened with it. So in order to dissolve it, it's turned into a real difficult situation. The attorney that was working on it for us in Kevin Young's office decided that she wanted to foil the Attorney General's office to see what had been filed, because we don't have any clear information there. And the answer that came back from the Attorney General's office was that they didn't have the files readily available, and it was going to be a year before they'd be able to find the files. So Kevin Young's office came back to me and said that they wanted permission to file a letter of objection to the Attorney General's office. And at that point, it was just a few days before this meeting. And I said, let's take a look at how much money we've spent on this project to date, which is like $3,900. And I wanted to get a feeling from the board whether we want to continue to spend money on this project.
I think we should, but it's in my town, so.
Well, it's okay. I mean, I think it's a good project. I think it's 13 acres of developable land right in the center of the village of Walton. It's not going to cost us anything other than this legal work and some back taxes. And I think it's a deal for us if we can pull it off.
And there'll be some land improvements, because we're gonna have to take the foundations off.
Yeah, oh yeah, but I still think that we can come out of this with a developable piece of land. But I just
Right.
wanted to keep everybody appraised of what we're up against here.
What did they think they needed to spend to get this across the end line?
I haven't got an estimate on that.
More.
Yes.
Attorneys aren't good at,
I was accepting of more. It was how much more?
More than you think it should be,
Oh, of course.
if that clarifies it at all.
What's the timeline on this, Jim? They give you an idea?
well, we've got a 1 year
Right.
deadline in front of us through the Attorney General's office. And I don't know how, I mean, I don't know how to get around that.
Yeah, I don't know how it goes. They can always just claim COVID.
What is it? Is it like, I don't understand. It's a homeowners association. Are there any homeowners
Yes,
there?
yeah.
There's one living there, right?
One passed away,
Right.
but I don't.
But her
think
son lives there.
Still lives there.
And that's the only one
And
that's
then the other
not,
house is empty, because that's part of the deal. That house goes with the property
right.
for us to sell, or, use it, whatever format we decide.
But
to.
we haven't paid anybody or bought anything except our attorneys, right?
Right.
And we're not buying the property's being gifted to us.
Right.
Right.
So you could spend 50 grand and there's your basis in 13 acres in the center of the village. And you're like, wow, that's a good deal.
So there's nobody really fighting us. It's just a time frame from the
Yeah.
AG's
Right.
office.
Great.
And we don't have
Time's
nothing
on our
pending for
side.
the property.
It's not going
and
anywhere.
it's I was gonna say, just wait a year, see what happens.
The only concern
But-
is that the person doing it, if he passes away, what happens?
If his estate just, right now, the person who owns it is willing to donate it. If it goes to a state,
Oh,
then it's sell it,
yeah.
highest
yeah.
bidder.
Right.
Which, you know, what doesn't necessarily mean that's bad.
Let's plot along.
Okay.
Well, you could have,
So
our-
you need a
you
motion?
could have our attorney.
No, I don't think so. I just
Put it in
wanted
his
to
will,
run
but
it
it's
by
different.
everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good idea, actually.
Why don't you have it, put it in his will that it's gifted to us? We could pay for that.
We have a contract with him.
Yeah, I mean, but if the contract dies when he dies, you'd want it in his last will and testament. Just a thought. I mean, if you still want to pursue it.
But the tax benefit may not be there no more.
Yeah.
And that's the argument we were selling it on, the major tax benefit to the owner.
Well, we'll keep working on it and see what we come up with.
Okay.
Glenn, hidden in?
Oh, yeah, so hidden in. So, there is a, so for that property, the principles behind the new project, are pursuing, an alternative source of financing that appears, not definite yet, but appears willing to finance their full phase one project scope, and the acquisition of the facility from the IDA for all a number of, this is a round number of around $260,000.
That's
And-
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So right now,
Please do it.
yeah,
I'm
so,
not standing in the way of that one.
yeah,
Yeah, you should understand what's happening here. Tate is pushing him to go and borrow money away from it to do this, just so Tate could make his money fixing it up.
right, yeah,
Just what we put it into our name that it didn't happen is about to happen.
right. So the contractor feels that this project is best done all in one fell swoop, or at least the phase one portion of it, which is more than, was initially thought was a reasonable amount to get into the project. But now that there's a financial entity willing to finance it, the owner is willing to take that leap. So it's kind of out of our hands.
Well, let's
Yeah.
help them leap.
Now, so I have been asked to provide a sales contract so that for surety to the bank that we're actually moving forward with this. So right now, and these are round numbers, my morning got a little bit hectic, so I didn't put them together. So right now, we're about $92,000 into the project from acquisition costs and some costs associated with turning on the electric and things like that, which were much less than were that initial estimate that was shown. It was less than half of that amount. And then there's going to be one invoice remaining regarding turning the heating back on. But again, that was much less than was on there. I don't have a figure yet, but that figure included like a $12,000 charge for a new furnace, and the furnace is working fine. So there may be a little bit there. Right now, I'm budgeting, we're figuring our all-in costs are going to be between 100 and 105. So that's what I'd like to offer it to sale for.
Yep.
You know, I'll give them the definite as of now, plus this invoice and the range, and yeah.
I'll make a motion, you do the sales contract.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed?
I kept hearing this 240 number, right? And I'm like, well, wait a minute, this is 105, that's 240. So I didn't jump right on that. Is your bank taking that particular risk? By the
Nope.
way? Just wondered.
We tried.
I will say I had first option, and the option I gave did not appear to be as good as this option, and I wish them the best of luck. I don't wish anyone ill will.
Well, good luck with the project.
Yeah.
Glenn, you want to talk about Hughes Energy?
I don't have
This
anything to
did exactly
update. I
what
was
we
expecting
wanted it
to,
to
but
do.
that just didn't
Buying
happen
it.
this week.
All right,
Yeah,
and
so
I'm going to add the
helping
Walton
somebody
Meat
get into it.
project to that.
Oh, the other thing we should add to that is Fleischman's First.
Okay, Glenn and I had and Evan had a conference call with the developer of the Walton meat processing facility. And things appear to be moving along. We're working with CWC for the funding on him. Glenn's had a meeting with CWC, preliminary meeting. He has, the developer has put together an application that just came in this week that's been filed with CWC. So that's chugging along, and there's really not a whole lot more to talk about right now.
Oh, do we want to talk about the potential financing structure?
Sure, okay.
Okay, so it's around an $800,000 project. The owner's bringing in 300,000 plus. He said he's going back to get some more money from him and his investors. So, but for right now, we're looking at financing around 500,000 of it. There's potential for getting some grant funding to help with that. For now, we're using a number of around 250,000, and then he would be approaching CWC for the other 250,000. As Jim mentioned, I spoke to CWC this week, and they're, they're mildly interested in it, and getting a mildly interested response from the CWC is like, wow, they're all in. So that's a good bet, but there is an issue in that CWC does not finance new construction. The grant that we would be going for cannot be used for construction. Otherwise, you kick in prevailing wage. So a potential solution I came up with, and Scott, I'm far enough away, you can't kick me, is
But I can throw my.
you can throw something at me, is so perhaps the LDC would provide $250,000 of construction financing in a 6-month note to be taken out by the CWC. So everything would be kind of circular. The LDC would provide a loan for $250,000 contingent upon the project receiving a grant and CWC approval of takeout finance. CWC would approve takeout finance subject to our providing construction finance and the grant coming through.
I don't need to kick you for that.
Right, it's fairly low risk
It
at
is.
that point.
Yeah.
You
As
know,
long as we got everything.
we're in and out,
Right.
Yeah,
yes.
As long as it's all done ahead of time and all committed to ahead of time, it's just the gap financing.
Yes,
And he has changed his construction project down to a 4,000 square foot building initially. He's going to phase it in over 3 years.
Yep.
So,
Much better.
so, and did you get that copy of his new site?
his
plan?
site plan, I haven't looked at it yet.
I've got it here. And I didn't know whether it came to you or not.
Yeah.
Okay, so more to come.
Yeah, so potentially for the next meeting,
Site plan.
Evan will
Yeah.
be bringing that.
Yes, we'll get
forward.
that to you as well. Okay, Fleshman's First,
Maybe you wanna
that's-
handle that?
that's, we've been talking with Todd Pascarella. They're still meeting with the bank as far as the title being changed over to, they'll be donated to the IDA, and we in turn are gonna hold on to it until Fleshman's First can get their not-for-profit status established. They've got the state portion approved, they've got to get the federal portion, which takes the longest time.
That's the old community Wilbur Bank.
Yes,
building?
it's the community bank property. If community bank moves forward, there's a proposal submitted to them this week for them to donate the property to Fleischman's First, but via the IDA, because Fleischman's First isn't established yet. So the IDA would take ownership of it, likely incur some minor costs, insurance, heat, electric, stuff like that, for a brief period of time. and then sell it to Fleischman's First for our all-in costs. And Jim and I spoke with them on the phone. They confirmed that as an understanding. They've got more than enough money in a bank account right now to be able to afford that from the idea. I mean, we're probably talking less than $5,000 worth of costs, and they've got 30 some in their bank account. So it would just be a no-brainer transaction just to facilitate the donation from Community Bank.
Is that the old Deep National Bank in place?
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. And it's a good building, not,
Yeah.
our usual.
I actually have somebody that
I
might
don't
be,
know. I'm told it's not, so be cautious.
Well, it's not as bad as Lewis's.
Yeah, that's true. Man, I came by there today. Holy smokes. They are doing a land office business.
Yes.
Good for
And
them.
you will be pleased, he charges a 3.99% surcharge for using credit cards.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Well done.
Now, I now pay in cash.
Yeah.
I go there, I'm like, how much do I owe you? He's like, you can just pay when you get here. I'm like, nope, I'm paying with cash. I'm not giving you that cash.
That's right. Uh-huh.
You get how much to use a credit card?
3.99%.
It's his discount fee though, that his merchant processor charges him.
yep.
And either that or he's got to build it into his hourly rate that he
Right.
charges.
And that amount mounts up very quick.
I see it as
Who
$50,000 and
charges that?
$60,000.
Yeah,
No,
I was just-
MasterCard Visa merchant processor.
for accepting credit cards.
You got me.
I just had Tabitha,
Right,
Right.
you missed 40-50% of your sales
Yeah,
at
they don't.
least.
It's unlimited when they walk in with a credit card. They walk in with cash, it's very funny now.
It's just what's in their
Yeah.
pocket.
Yeah,
Right.
so you pay it. Plus, we used to chase 20% would be some form of accounts receivable. And by the end of the year, we would have 2%, we write it off.
Right.
And but all that chasing for that 18% that finally does pay, ain't worth it.
Yeah.
I see that changing though, so that people are just holding their phone over your machine and the discount rate for that is gonna be far less than it is when you swipe a card.
How's that? We tried that last year, but it was a little newfangledy for us. You gotta have solid Wi-Fi everywhere. People expect you to check them out where they're standing at the moment. No, you'll see someone that knows how to handle cash, I don't.
Yeah, you handle it right here.
No, but whatever's given to me, $45 is in my wallet. That's the amount of damage I can do. Like, she's not gonna find me in trouble in Philadelphia on $45.
I just had Tabitha hand out a couple of items that Ray Pucci wanted to get to all the board members. These are a couple of different publications that he's put together. Wanted to get them out. There's extras here if you want them. So plenty to go. The other day I noticed that there was a notice online from the town of Sydney about the new zoning ordinance for the town of Sydney. So I called up the planning and I got a hold of Sean and asked him if he could look into the town of Sydney new zoning ordinance and give us some kind of an idea as to what impact it was going to have on Muddy River hops. We're back to the same old story again.
So the town's obviously, they're proceeding with the revised law. The new law is available for review on their website. And the public hearing scheduled, I think it's April 8th. As far as specifically in regards to Muddy River, their property is located in a residential agricultural district, which specifically allows for craft brewery, winery, distillery, cidery, meadery, and or food manufacturing facility by special permit, which requires site plan review approval and grants the planning board the ability to regulate hours of operation. They obviously would have to accommodate for off-street parking, limitations as far as what they can use, what areas of the property they can use, in what way. So there's a path forward for them legally, but I think given their parking situation or how they've handled parking on the road in the past, might be a limitation going forward to accommodate the amount of people that they have had there historically.
There's
So
parking going in there though, right by their building there.
there is some parking,
Yeah.
but it's, I mean, that's, as my understanding of it is, all along, that was the issue with, or one of the issues with the neighbors. And that it was, people were just pulling off the side of a state highway.
That's what they're doing.
And all up and down it. So as the draft version reads now, legally, they do have a path forward to go through site plan review, get a special permit and operate a facility, any number of those facilities, and not only for that parcel, but for any other parcel in that zoning district, which is the, overwhelming majority of the town.
Right, but they can limit it
But
so
they,
that it's not prosperous. If they can say you have 15 parking lots, so you can't have more than 50 people
they could,
on site,
correct,
you're not gonna make any money.
correct, right?
So they need to be prepared to be able to put.
And
parking
there's no
lots on-
grandfathering because it's an existing operation.
That, there was a little bit of a discussion in my office about that. I don't have a
How can,
hard
a-
answer for that. That would likely end up in a court.
how can
decision.
how can a planning board implement a zoning law after the fact? And in essence, legislative, a piece of business out of business.
Yeah, but they probably could fight that in court, but is the business owner willing to spend $50,000 fighting
Yeah.
or just gives up?
We got an
They don't
issue
have the
here.
funds.
I mean, this,
This is crazy.
it's nuts. Where the hell is the town of Sydney on this?
I haven't talked to Gene on that. I know Gene was trying to get something that would be workable, but that's what they came up with, I guess.
We do, the reason I'm interested in it is because of the obvious countywide, but we also have a loan exposure here. And if they go out of business, we're gonna get stuck for the amount of their mortgage.
Yeah, but also the town is forcing a viable business out of business. That's good
Exactly.
for your reputation.
Exactly.
I don't want to come
Shame
and talk
on
to
the
you
town
about
of Sydney.
expanding or putting a business in Sydney if I watch you just close the doors on somebody, because some people don't like
I
it.
mean, we have to bust our butt to try and work with businesses in this county. And then they turn around and run one out because of this stupid stuff.
I mean, is this something we should send down to Kevin and let him look at it?
So where's that stand now? I mean, this is, what's their next step?
It is a draft law. As I understand it, it's, they're holding a public hearing. So a municipality has several steps they need to go through to adopt a local law. Public hearing being one of them, seeker, a review by their attorney, and then finally, it being, recorded essentially in the Department of State.
You should go to that public hearing, Jim.
But there's also action
I probably
on
will.
Facebook about whether they're in favor or for
Probably
or against
You
it.
come and bail me out.
Someone was inviting people to attend the public hearing, which is probably by Zoom,
Right now, we can.
Well,
so.
Did something change? I mean, we loaned money to a business that wouldn't be permitted to run the business we loaned money for.
No.
No.
No,
So
no.
what changed I mean, when we loaned the money, the guy was set to go with whatever he was
Right.
doing. Now something changed.
Yeah, the neighbor didn't like somebody having fun.
And isn't he on the board or something?
He's on the planning board.
He's on the planning board, so
I
he,
believe formerly on the board,
oh, formally?
I believe.
Okay.
I mean, their zoning was very vague. It was agricultural and.
Commercial,
What was his
residential,
zoning?
It was,
residential and agricultural.
Agriculture.
Yeah, and Muddy River Hops applied for a state program, a new state program for farm breweries.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that's
And
a
it
little-
allowed them to have a tasting room under the state law. Now, all of a sudden Sydney, because of this neighbor who was on the planning board,
Gotta fix that.
gets a
Anyway.
burr under their saddle and decides that they don't like the parties that are going on. And then it's not like they're lasting late in the evening. I think it's over with by 10.
But do we invest
No, I'm
money
not
in
sure.
fighting this?
No, not to my opinion.
I mean,
It's
This
not
is-
our fight.
Not our fight.
yeah, but
It's
we're
not
at
our
risk.
fight,
It's
but by
planned,
the same
right.
token, it is because
So-
we're financing businesses all over this county.
Mhm.
And if town planning boards are gonna pull stuff like this,
Sure.
Well, the planning board doesn't adopt the zoning, the town board is the board that would adopt the zoning.
Right,
Right.
but
And then the
still,
planning board
we're
would
at
vote
risk for the loan.
Yeah.
Review it.
We're at risk for potential any other problem. And I'm not saying that we hire Kevin Young to go fight the case, but let him review it and come up with some solutions that we could turn over to the landowner or whoever to protect our interest.
Jim is right. We have to protect the interest. We got money involved in the situation. You just can't let the guy hang out there all by, he probably doesn't have the money to protect
Yeah,
his
but
own interest.
what happens from other county or other towns doing the same thing? Once Sydney's successful at this, here's a business
Yeah.
that's starting up and they say, well, we don't like this, we're gonna stop it. I mean, it happens all the time, but we've gotta put an end to this. It's gotta be somewhere.
I don't recall it all the time sitting around here that we've ever had another town do this. That doesn't extrapolate out that there's a straight line on the chart that they're all gonna do this now.
No.
I mean, it's just,
There's a lot of.
obviously
businesses-
there's a situation here.
Same thing happened to me. And people park in the street and I don't do parking. And you had people that was sending the sheriff to me, what have you. Fortunately, all the headlines that were making brought in more business. But I would often tell the constabulary, while I'm regulating parking, will you water my plants? And it's just, you know, and a lot of it's just emotional, but it was irritating. It was distraction. Here comes the constable. Here we go again. It's like, finally, they just gave up because I'm not going anywhere. Yeah, but I was able to stick it out. And Davenport fortunately doesn't have zoning, but it's experiences like this, that's why we don't.
yeah.
And it was just terribly unpleasant, a bunch of jealous neighbors
Mhm.
who lived in a community with a ghetto mentality. You know, woe is me. If I was born somewhere else, I would be successful. You can't do anything in Davenport Center. It doesn't allow, and I come in and make a lie out of it. Now you have to look at yourself and say, gee, I could have done that too. Or you could say, let's get dense.
And that's the easier step.
I got it, and this is what's going on, because I'm a little bit aware of it through Economic Development Committee, and I'm looking at that, it's the same thing. I don't do parking. Come on, you want to tow them or give them tickets, whatever you gotta do. I ask them, but you tell a customer, you're not allowed to park in the street, fine, they get in the car and they drive away.
Right.
Every time.
Sure, because where are they gonna go?
Every time.
They can't park there, so they're gonna
Right.
leave and find someplace
And
they can
meanwhile,
park.
I was building more and more parking, and even to this moment, people will park right on the corner, and I have room for 20 cars. I can't help it if people are stupid. If I went and excluded stupid people from my customer base, you would never know.
They make a living.
So I'm trouble. I mean, I even had someone stop at the stop sign, see somebody lights, got out of the car and come walking over. It's right there, and I don't like it either, but I took his money.
So, and to my knowledge, they haven't been stopped from operating.
They, you know, the
I-
troopers and they're,
I don't know, I think that they've been, there's nothing, they haven't had a stop work order or any kind of
Yeah, there was a
violation, notice
cease and
violation.
desist, and then I think
It
it was
was-
tabled,
it was-
what's the,
But
legal.
that was all on the
appealed.
noise part and the having concerts there.
Yeah.
It wasn't about parking.
Right, But that's a
it was
county
appealed-
road,
There was a
isn't it?
notice.
It's a county
issue.
road.
There was a notice issued, it was appealed to the ZBA, and the ZBA didn't rule on it pending this, new law that would go into effect.
So,
So as it stands now, there's nothing stopping them,
to continue business,
except that it was winter. I mean,
Yeah.
essentially, they've got an Amish shed there that they have some
It's
tax.
a seasonal business.
so maybe we have to wait until they tell them that you can't do business.
So
anymore.
then it goes to if they open up, next weekend, it's sunny or whatever, and are functioning before the law is adopted, then
That's up to
are
them.
are they in business at the time of adoption and therefore
Grandfather.
grandfather?
So, I would think their attorney's advice should be, you
Then
should open
and that's
up
why I
as soon
said-
as you
And
can.
that's why I said then it would be in a court that it would be determined.
I thought from the agricultural standpoint, this also came in farmland protection.
Yeah.
Is this or is this not agricultural activity? My understanding, our undertake is that New York State recognizes this tasting room as agricultural activity. Therefore, and I think the planning person was trying to say, no, that's retail liquor consumption, you can't.
Yeah,
do
but
that.
I think they were blowing it up because they were doing concerts there or music there, which now, is that still part of the agricultural scene or
And
not?
that's, where's
We
that
thought
line?
the state
And that's,
was in favor of that.
where is the
Where
line
is that
drawn?
line? Yeah.
Yeah.
Has it been?
Yeah.
Has
That
it
How's the
been?
happens in
line?
other parts of the state.
You know,
All
it's-
the-
It's just Howard wanted to go to bed at 7:30 and they were still playing music at 7:30.
Who's their lawyer?
I don't know that they have one.
Oh.
I don't know.
they had one and they just
They
spent
couldn't
way too much money.
Right, they couldn't keep it for, keep them involved.
Yeah.
Was Shormedy? Was he representing them at all? No.
No,
He was,
So
who
how
was
do we get
communicating
word
with
to them,
Shelley in
open
my
up as
office
soon as possible?
Oh, was it?
without
Yeah.
about
being
reviewing the
involved?
law and,
Well, yeah, because
And-
Joe's the attorney for the town.
County,
right.
yeah.
Can they open up right away, Andy?
Can they open up right away? I don't know why they couldn't,
Maybe it's a
but
better-
I don't know. I haven't talked to the owners of that in a long time, so I don't know where they stand. Have you talked to them? Glenn?
I haven't talked to them, but I've talked to Ty's Taqueria, who serves food there and was a former loan customer of ours. And in full disclosure, because both of my daughters work for her, not one tied to the other. And that's on her schedule, is to be out at Muddy River Hops for this year on Sundays. Not every Sunday, but a number of Sundays throughout the year.
I mean, even if they opened up and had no business, put an open sign in the window or something.
Yeah,
I'm sure they're planning on it anyway.
I mean, at least gives them an argument, are they grandfathered or not?
I think it still comes down to that agriculture.
Could we make a
question.
phone call
That's,
to them?
well, that's a strong
Yeah,
part.
sure, I can call Jared.
Because you're
They'll open up
absolutely
right
right.
away.
New York State's classified them as an agricultural
Right.
business.
I think it would be a great move if they would open up this weekend.
yeah,
Yeah, when
good idea, Jim.
feels like spring.
All they gotta do is put a sign out, have one customer come up and they're open for business.
I'll go over and have a beer.
Yeah, or send a friend over to buy a bottle or
Oh, we
something.
should have had this meeting over there.
Yeah, now that would have went over real.
I'll do it Sunday to celebrate the Sweet 16.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
As long as Syracuse wins.
Yeah, right? If not, I'll go over and drown my sorrows. Okay, and anything else, old or no business?
There was something on there that we skipped over, that J, whatever.
Evan nixed that loan. He
Okay.
said, no way, Jose.
I wouldn't do that to you guys.
Okay,
You're looking out.
Don't you have a daughter?
No,
that
I
needs
do,
a
I
job?
do want to mention, so it was a loan and it was questionable. There was questions about the use of funds and Evan, put on some prudent restrictions or requirements of the loan. And the guy's just like, oh, no, thank you. No, you did a good job.
Good job. Well done.
Okay,
Remember that
can
in
I have a
about 5
motion?
minutes, okay?
You got a really good loan to value on this.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, I know.
Super.
Yeah,
You don't
I
have
like
much
this
for
one.
repayment capacity, but you got a good loan to
Yeah,
value.
yeah. True.
Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting, please?
So moved.
Thank you. And I will open the LDC meeting, and I'll run through the first few resolutions here. Need a resolution to accept the minutes.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
I need a resolution for the financials that we've already reviewed.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And Evan, you want to talk about the Fierce Grizzly loan
Yes.
application?
Now, I hate to break our no executive order streak here. Do we have to for loans? I'm not sure if we,
Not if you can talk in code well enough.
okay, there would really be only one thing that I might, we'll see if we have to do that. All right, so we've all looked at it.
Do you want to go into executive session?
No, let's try it.
Yeah. So there's this guy, he's been living in Roxbury for a few years now. He's got a family there. This whole project of opening kind of a general store in Roxbury really came from him saying, I have to drive, 30 minutes to buy my kids Kraft macaroni and cheese. So he researched it. It looks like a pretty viable business, especially with the new population there, the increased population there. Found a building. Originally, he was going to come to us for probably about $150,000 for the mortgage. Because of, other bidders in there, it turned into a cash sale. So he got a personal loan for what he lacked to buy that property. And he would like to pay that personal loan off as soon as he can. So what he's coming to us for is $50,000 for equipment, inventory, renovating the building. And his plan is in 6 to 12 months, he believes, once he improves everything, he shows the business is viable and making money, he can get a better full mortgage term. And he will do that to a bank. He'll go to a bank for that and then pay us off, pay off that personal. And we basically transfer the lien to, the bank that takes this. So that's, we gave him 2-year loan just to give him some breathing room. That's basically what it is, $50,000 for 2 years. And meanwhile, it meets the job creation, at least for the 50,000. And also, he is improving a pretty, you go down from the Roxbury, down the street to downtown. That's the first building you see. It's the big blue building on the corner. Okay. And he's going to improve it. It increases walkability of the downtown. It puts a corner store, general store, whatever you want to call it, right in downtown, increasing walkability, especially for people who can't drive. And, they don't have it. They have a gas station where you can get,
It's
milk.
packed,
Yeah.
people buying stuff.
Uh-huh.
I like what I read. I support
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion. We go ahead if you want to do that.
I'll second it.
Absolutely.
All right.
I should tell you, so the kid graduated from collegiate in Manhattan. His father is a tax attorney in New York. And oddly enough, he owns a piece of the mortgage on the EPA building in Manhattan. And he went further, and where he got the original money, got it from taking his part of the mortgage and taking a loan on it, or taking a mortgage on it down there. I thought it was a pretty good deal for him.
Yeah, I know.
I thought it would be my first loan to make everyone smile. So I'll
You make
Okay.
me smile, get a commission.
Any other?
Oh, you better abstain from voting.
Well,
I did.
I'd like to throw a curveball out there that will make everybody maybe not so happy.
Uh-oh.
Is just because, 50,000 is either a lot of money or not that much, depending on how you look at it. Mortgage transactions can be expensive when you add in title insurance and everything like that. Now, normally, yes, obviously, we always get, the mortgage insurance, title insurance. Would we require title insurance for this loan?
You don't have to, Glenn.
You don't have
The
to.
seller is paying the title insurance.
Okay,
Jim Catita.
so he is paying it?
Or that's why it's in the contract. I only hope they look at
Okay.
the contract.
All right, okay, then never mind.
Do we have to check the zoning?
Well, I did check a little bit,
It had been a
there,
restaurant.
there is a site plan review law in the town of Roxbury. And according to my reading of it and my very basic understanding of the project, I don't believe they would be required to get a review, go through that review process if they're not doing any exterior expansion or renovation of the building.
No, not
Exterior.
particularly.
I don't believe they'll need to, but that is would be the determination made by the code officer for the town.
Be
So
kind of
I
hard.
encourage you to encourage them to have a conversation with
Okay.
Tommy
Tommy
Tompkins.
Tompkins.
Okay.
It's highly unlikely that he would
Right.
Yeah, he,
want them to do it.
Yeah.
But I just want to throw it out there to let you know.
Yeah, okay.
It's possible.
Any other,
Evan, what's the address of this? I picked up 54155, but when I Google it, it comes up as some residential house.
The corner of Route 30.
And Church?
No.
Church is the one that
no,
goes
it's
to the
across,
Roxbury
it's
Motel.
across from,
no,
the
it's
yeah.
across the street.
And
across the street from that corner.
Yeah, what's the restaurant there?
It's across from Cassie's. Well, what used to
Yes,
be Cassie's,
Cassie's,
it's not
yeah.
Cassie's anymore.
I can't say.
Across the street.
The Rotary Club used to meet at that cast.
Yeah, they still do.
Do they?
Made up there the other day.
You know, you can't picture it?
I can. I got a request from a guy out of California the other day, I think to buy the same property.
No,
Yeah.
oh, wait, are you talking about,
Andrew and Peter.
Andrew William, yes, that's two properties down on the right-hand
They're
side.
buying the liquor store up. on
Scott,
the-
it's 5353.
5353,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, so, you know, this one is on the corner of some little road in 30, right across the street from
That would go
Cassie's.
up the hill.
Then there's
behind
like
it.
the liquor store, then there's the other building that Andrew is interested in purchasing.
Okay,
Because he's contacted us too.
I told him.
okay,
to
and how
contact
far along are you on
He
that?
submitted an application.
All right,
But he's going to, I encouraged him that we are not primary financing. Where he's looking for like 35 from us.
yes.
Yeah.
That was what was in the plan I read.
Yes.
And I went pouring through all the details and I could find nothing anywhere that said you'd already committed to it.
Oh, no,
Was
no,
I
no.
sleeping through that?
No,
meeting?
that'll be something for next meeting.
All right.
Scott, I was wrong on that number, 53530.
What's he want to do there?
So right now it's an inn. He's gonna keep it as an inn, but also open up a retail space.
That whole area is
Okay.
popping.
Yes, it is.
Just
All right.
And I think it's telling that we're getting multiple projects in the same community.
It's cool.
All right, everybody in favor of this, please?
Yeah.
Yes. Aye.
Opposed? There we go.
Thing.
Thank you, Evan.
All right, thank you.
Any other
I've
old?
got one quick one.
Yep.
Maybe it's quick, maybe it's not. Mile High Properties, that's one of our current loans. It was formerly the building that housed Jams
Oh, yeah, on
Yes.
23.
on
just
23. Yes.
West of the
Yes,
village.
so Tom Miner owns it under
Yep.
Mile Hill Properties. He essentially bought Jams back out and saved us from foreclosing because he assumed our note with Jams. It's fully leased. His balloon payment is up in May. He got COVID and from his words, almost died, still recovering from it. He's asked for a 3-year extension to his balloon. Same terms, 3 more years, so he's looking to retire. I don't know how old Tom is.
So,
Yeah,
Should we require some new financials before we
Sure.
agree to it?
you can if you want.
and I'd only do it for a year, not for 3 years. He's got a lot of cash coming in from that.
Oh, yeah, he does. He's got, yeah,
Well, let's get the financials before we commit to 1 or 3.
Right.
okay.
That wasn't bad.
Well, but Glenn's got to answer him rather than wait for another month. So,
I'll ask for him and I'll email him around. I'm okay with that.
And the balloon doesn't come due for another month, right?
Yeah, we got
We're
time.
okay.
okay,
We won't have a.
Yeah, we're not gonna stick it to him.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
He
I mean,
took us-
he is Johnny on the spot.
He
yeah.
took us out of a bad situation. He's paid as agreed. We'll work with him.
Yeah,
The terms is how long will we go with it?
right.
okay.
Okay.
Any other old and new business? Have a motion to adjourn, please.
Same.
Thank you all very much.
Thank
Time to
you.
eat.
You're welcome.
Everybody have a good day.
We got you out, Bruce, before you were